This week I'm getting out in the garden, so I'm going to do a post across the week with all the things that I do with the garden. Today I was going to get outside and start sorting all the pots and just having a general tidy up, getting things ready for when the seeds that I've got growing indoors can go outside. But the promised sunny day at 16 degrees hasn't materialised. I think it's now coming tomorrow, so I'm swapping some tasks around. Today I am going to make an insect or a bug hotel. Lots of offcuts of canes left over from my parents' house. They have bamboo in their garden, which my dad now feels was very much a mistake because it's taking over. And every year you have to trim it back to stop it from just taking over. And it's up against a fence and it's in a bricked growing area, and it just wants to escape. So every year this task, and that includes taking down some of the bamboo. And as you can see, it's got quite big. Now I had a load of canes when I was down there. They had loads of spares, and I put them on. They didn't want them. I don't need them. I've got a load here that I brought back last year that are still good. So I advertised them on Trash Nothing, which is like a Freegal site, which is really good. I use it regularly to give away stuff and get stuff. So I advertised the canes, and by the next day someone had come and taken them all. So that was great. So they're being used in someone else's garden now and save somebody some money. So I've got these little offcuts, which in fact I am not going to trim down. I'm deliberately going to leave these odd shapes, and I'm going to find somewhere to hide this strategically in my pot garden. It's not going to be particularly fancy. Now my dad put this together for me while I was home with wire, but it's not held up during the journey. I'm just trying to move the wires across where they were, but it's not going to hold. So today I am going to add wrappings of twine all the way along these lengths to give it more support, and then I'm probably just going to tuck it down in the ground somewhere in between pots because I don't have anywhere particularly safe. If I put it in sight, someone will probably nick it, so I'm trying to be careful about it. I could probably upend it and stick it in a pot with that. Look at that. Anyway, so I'm just going to get this done. This is my first job for the week, and then I have a strangely shaped, it looks like something out of Blair Witch, doesn't it? Something the witches made and hung in the trees. But yes, this is going to be a bug hotel, so I am going to get on and twine this to make it more secure, and then when I start in the garden, hopefully tomorrow, I will put this outside. Right, it's gardening day, It's the day after the last bit that I just did. The sun is out, the sky is blue, it's windier today, but it's not that cold. So let's get on and start tidying up outside. Okay, so that's today's gardening session over with. I've assessed everything. Everything seems to have survived, which is good. Some of the plastic pots are starting to shatter, and I think that's probably because of those -8 temperatures last year. So as they break up, I'll use other ones. I have plenty of spare pots. I've been gifted an awful lot of stuff from my parents. I say gifted, offloaded a lot of stuff from my parents. They've worked out that they can get rid of things with less guilt if they pass them on to me, so I get all sorts of things. But they gave me a big bag of earth last year. They dug out some earth from the garden. They didn't think it was good enough for the garden. There's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it was more like a giant root ball, and over the winter, I've had a look at it today, and it looks like it's been converted back to soil. There's loads of bugs and things in there, so I think they've done their job, which is good. So I have lots of space, plenty of earth. I was looking in my brown wheelie bin, which is my composting bin, which I try not to empty because it's a fabulous ecosystem. It's absolutely heaving with bugs in there, all sorts of fun things going on. They're fun to watch. I've put all the leaves from that have gathered over the autumn and the winter in there, so that'll give them something extra to feast on. It's getting quite full, that bin, and I noticed that it's quite full of water now. And I don't know really where that's come from, and it's really heavy. So I need to work out a way to drill holes in the bottom of the wheelie bin to let it drain. Now I don't have a drill, so I'm just trying to work out what's going to be the best way to do that. I am sure I can come up with an idea. I only need 1 or 2 reasonable sized holes, and I think that'll drain pretty quickly. It may simply be a case of bashing a couple of screws in and just creating an outlet. But I'm going to Google that and find out what's going to be the best way to deal with that, because it weighs a ton. You cannot move the bin, and everything in there is going to drown. All that water is not going to be good for the woodlice and the beetles and all the other bits and bobs that are living in there, especially if it gets worse. So I need to get that water out, and the only way I'm going to be able to do it, aside from getting the bin emptied, which I don't want to do because that means I've got to start again with another ecosystem, is to get holes in the bottom. So that's going to be my next project. But for now, it's looking reasonably neat and tidy for the time of year. It'll look really good in the summer. Last year it just looked incredible. So I'm really looking forward to getting some growing time on. I've had to deal with a slug issue. They seem to be very enthusiastic about my broad beans and my purple sprouting broccoli this year, so I've thrown a bit of salt down. I don't like to kill things, but equally I'm growing things for me to eat, not just for nature. The purple sprouting broccoli is a bit of an issue. I planted it too late last year, so whereas I should really be harvesting it now, it's barely grown. Now, if I leave it there, it'll probably be good to harvest in autumn or winter this year, but the cabbage white butterflies also adore it, as I found out to my cost last year. I also had a big problem with aphids last year, where we had a very mild winter and they were absolutely covered in them in January and February, but I haven't seen any this year, so I think that really harsh winter has killed them all off. But I've had to put the salt down for the slugs. I'm hoping that I can get that purple sprouting broccoli through the year. I'm not so sure. I did net them before, but the butterflies get through because it's not proper netting, it's just regular, like dressmaking netting. I'm not spending a fortune on netting. So we will have to see who wins the battle. I suspect it'll be the butterflies, because you can't kill butterflies, you can't kill caterpillars. I'll just have to go without broccoli. I'm sure I'll survive. But the broad beans will do well. They look pretty chipper. So I should have a nice crop of broad beans again this year, and they always look good. And I've got lots of things germinating on my windowsill in my kitchen at the moment. All sorts of edibles and flourables. So I have lots of things to add to outdoors as the season continues. So it's not been a bad one. It's been alright. And my back survived, which is good. So I'm going to have a rest now, have a cup of tea, and it's almost lunchtime, so I'm going to go and make some lunch. Just wanted to throw in one last thing. I solved the problem of my water-filled wheelie bin. Googled a few things, all looked a bit complicated. So I basically took my gardening scissors, stuck the point in somewhere near the bottom of the bin, and just started to turn. And very quickly I had a hole, and it ran for about 20 minutes. I don't think that's all of it. I think that when I started drilling the hole, you could hear it gurgling, and I think that the water is sitting in pockets, and there are pockets of dry composting inside, so it's all kind of moving around. So I kept putting in a screwdriver and turning it around inside, and it felt like there was nothing in there. There was no tension against it, but it kept running. So I think I had to look in the top, and I couldn't see where the water line used to be. So I would say that's probably been a success. And now the hole is there. Hopefully, if I get more water and it goes up above that level, then it will self-drain. But I will keep an eye on it, and hopefully my bugs will not drain now.